Comic Book Savant, episode 363.
I know this. This I know. All that I have, all that is me, resides inside my poetry. And every time I write a rhyme, it might be the line that sets minds free. And also, I know that I don't.
Welcome back to the Comic Book Savant podcast. I'm your host, James Harris. This week is going to be somewhat of a shorter episode than what you're normally used to. I wanted to finish talking about some things that I totally forgot to mention in the previous episode when talking about some of my plans for the new year and the direction I wanted to take the show in. And I kept saying I wanted to talk to you guys about a big thing that I was working on for the show that I never got around to, and I didn't realize it till after I had edited the episode and uploaded it. So I'm going to talk about some more of those things and some quick news tidbits that dropped in the past few days, excuse me, since the last episode. But before I get into all that, as always, I'd like to give a shout out to my friends over at the Comics Podcast Network. You can find them over at comicspodcast.com. If you enjoyed this show and you want to find more comic book related material, it's definitely the best one-stop shop place to go. It is a portal made by comic book podcasters for fans of comic book podcasts and as well as fellow up-and-coming comic book podcasters. It's a multi-use resource. Definitely. So if you have a moment, go check out the Comics Podcast Network at comicspodcast.com. You can find a multitude of formats. You can find a single host podcast like myself. You can find roundtable discussions. You can find them on particular subjects. Like if you want to find a podcast on just a particular publisher, you can do that, or particular character or team. You can basically find a comics podcast about anything over at the Comics Podcast Network. And again, the website is comicspodcast.com. So if you have a moment, definitely go check it out. And last but not least, I'd like to give a shout out to the sponsor for this in every episode, which is InStockTrades.com. Just one of the best places you can go online for finding collected editions, being Absolute Editions, Marvel Masterworks, Omnibus, you name it. They pretty much have it. They have a great discounts ranging from 35 to 42 up to 50% off with their deals of the week. They update their homepage weekly with new deals that you can get for 50% off. If you place order that's $50 or more and you happen to be a U.S. customer, you get free shipping within the U.S., so that's also a great bonus. If you're an international customer, listener, and you want to use their service, you still get all those great savings. You just don't get the extra bonus of the free shipping that's only for the U.S. customers. So definitely, if you have a moment, stop by InStockTrades.com. Again, it's some of the best deals you're going to get online when it comes to any type of collection edition. And if you've been listening to the show for any amount of time, I've given you tons of reading recommendations, so you should be able to hit that $50 mark if you're a U.S. customer really soon, just based off recommendations that I've made during previous, episodes. So if you have a moment, check them out. And also let them know that you heard about them here on the Comic Book Savant podcast. It always goes a little further to help me as well. So getting into some of the things I left off last week, I know it could have been considered kind of a heavy episode. I talked about, doing some major moves, but, eventually trying to move this show more over to a video format on YouTube to help, generate revenue to keep the show going. As the year, that's my main goal looking into, going into 2019 from 2018. Like I said, it's going to be a gradual process, but my main objective is to actually create more content for you guys. And one big thing that I had been working on, I got inspired by, I don't know if you guys follow YouTube heavily, but it's a movie YouTube channel called Collider Videos, and they do a multitude of different shows, but they did this huge conglomeration where they did their top 50 superhero / comic book movie countdown, and it's super really, high produced, great thing. They have a staff of 20 or more people, so super high end. it inspired me. I said, I've done a lot of top 10 and even top 20 countdowns of my favorite comic book movies, but never a top 50. For the longest time, we didn't have 50 plus movies to choose from. Now we do. So I had been working on that like over the holidays, rewatching movies and wanting to do like this definitive list, at least for the time being, of my top 50, comic book movies. So I've gone behind the scenes doing a lot of just, watching of movies, like really breaking them down to be like, hey, if this is going to be the definitive list, definitive list, at least for, a year. Like I said, I've done top 10 lists and kind of went back and reworked them. So I said, this is going to be like my definitive list where as movies come out year by year, I can do just slight updates, but this is a big undertaking because I'm figuring out too between the podcast itself and then like the YouTube channel, how should I produce it as well? Should I do something similar to them where they did daily videos released over an extended amount of time, like Monday through Friday? They did a video a day counting down. They took the weekends off, but that's a big undertaking for one person. That's a lot of production. It's a lot of shooting when it's just me. So I was like, do I want to do that, or do I want to do like 10 at a time and do, you would get it over a period of a couple of weeks where I would do audio, like break it down into chunks of 10 or maybe even 5 and do 5 in a podcast, 5 in a video. And you would get it, week by week and doing a countdown via splitting it through the podcast and the YouTube channel. It's something I'm still playing around with now. Still a few movies I need to watch, then I want to watch, rewatch to kind of see how I feel about them right now and where they would stack up on the list. I'm probably taking it way too seriously. I've been accused of doing that by different listeners over the years on how I approach stuff, but it's the only way I know how to work, so it's kind of what I do. So I'm probably putting way more effort than anybody else has when it comes to doing this. But it's what I love to do when I create content for you guys. So that's been one major thing I've been working on. So like I said, I did top 100, trade paperbacks, and I broke it up over, a series of, episodes over time. And, but it's probably one of the most ambitious undertakings I've done over the course of the podcast in the 12 years that I can think of. This is kind of, the top 100. That was big. I remember going back doing the whole Justice League series over a course of a few months, where I broke down like every episode of every season of the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. That was massive, but this is probably the next biggest thing that I've done. And, it's a great thing. Like I said, I'm trying to push my boundaries as a content creator and give you guys, something a little different. So it was a good thing. And like I said, I give credit to Collider Videos. This is their kind of concept. I'm doing my take, and I have my own criteria on what movies I feel like qualify in this. And they're my favorite movies. And I think it's going to be some controversy in it because I'm basing this on my enjoyment of the movie. And, would I watch this movie again? It's not all about historical significance, because you see sometimes people get caught up in, well, we wouldn't have this if it wasn't for that. I agree with all that totally. And I agree with their, for certain movies, their place in history because of that. But that doesn't mean those movies maybe connected or resonate with me in that same way. I understand the historical value of them, but it's going to be more about what I enjoy watching. On this list, they're going to be my 50 favorite comic book movies, period. My favorite. Just, based on that. And then I want to see you guys chime in because, I'm going to give you the what and whys, why I picked the particular movies, where I slot them. So again, that's a big project I'm undertaking that's in the works, and I haven't started shooting it yet. I'm still compiling the last few movies to hit the 50 and where all the movies slot up on the list. So that's something major that will be coming out. I don't know when that'll be coming out, just because I'm going to have to start the production of it. And like I said, I'm still trying to figure out between shooting some video for it as well as doing some audio for it, how that will be, how I'm going to produce the whole thing. Because I guess, like I said, it's a massive undertaking. I'm like, do I want to do one video for each? And you guys can chime in. Like, you can reach out to me via Twitter, even the Facebook page. It's also a discussion group page that I have there too. Just do a search for Comic Book Savant discussion group on Facebook. There's all those different ways where you can reach out to me. You can let me know what your thoughts are, because I'm really at a crossroads for it. I know video, like, I don't know how highly produced. I'm only a few months into launching off the YouTube channel, so I still have a ton to learn about editing and graphics and all that kind of stuff. So that could be huge. As far as undertaking, if I'm going to try to do, I mean, I'll never get to the level of what Collider Video did, because they have a staff of professionals that help them do their thing, and it's presented extremely well. So if you haven't had if you're not, on YouTube a lot, I'm a huge YouTube head as far as just watching content. Check out Collider Videos. They're Superhero Type 50. They have superhero movie top 50. They should have a custom playlist for it. So just do a search for Collider Video. Go to their YouTube channel and check that out. They're finishing up this week. It's been running since I want to say November or something of last year, because like I said, they did like pick a day, Monday through Friday during the week. They took the weekends off and been counting down the top 50 over the past couple of months. So it's I think it's they're down to the last 3 movies in the top 50, and it's some interesting picks, and you see it's a consensus of their whole office and them voting. They had a whole real big intricate system on how it's broken down. Like I said, it's been kind of fun. I haven't agreed with everything, but like I said, it really inspired me to do kind of my take on the top 50, because as I realized I hadn't done a top 50, it's like the most I did was like a top 20 or top 25. And it gave me an excuse to go back and watch some of these movies. And it's been an interesting journey, because movies maybe I didn't like as much in the beginning, I have a certain affinity for now, and it really changed my view of some movies and where they rank for me and how much I enjoy said movies as well. So it's definitely been fun. And you guys can participate in this as well, but reach out to me via social media. Feedback is greatly appreciated on this, because this is something out of my realm. Again, I'm always pushing to try to do something different, to give you guys something different from me, and not, kind of follow the same path I've done previously. And I think this is going to be a big one, and I think it's going to be a fun ride. So definitely let me know what you think on that. Just some news items that came up. We have a new lead or boss over at DC Films. We know it was a big shakeup after Justice League. They recently announced that Walter Hamada is coming on as the new head of DC Films. It's been a mess over there at DC Films and Warner Brothers, just in the direction. Walter Hamada, he's been the overseer of a lot of the horror movies and the horror division over at Warner Brothers. He works very closely and very close friends with James Wan. So he's overseeing like The Conjuring, Insidious, and those films, Lights Out. So he's worked with the director that's doing Shazam. He's worked with James Wan that is doing Aquaman. He's a lot of the movies, and it's a lot of different reasons, and I've done a little bit of research on him. A lot of his movies that he's done with Warner Brothers, he's very efficient. I don't know what his connection to comics are, does he have a huge love for comics, but he's a good manager of things, because a lot of reports came in, from the movies that he's overseen or executive produced, or he's, like I said, been the mind trust over the horror division. A lot of his movies came in on time, under budget, and they all made profit, and they all had some semblance of critical and fan acclaim, which is a lot of these things that the DC Films need to kind of get in line. So with that being said, I don't know what his ties are to comics, and will he know a lot of the source material, but just on a management side of helping potentially streamline things and get a coherent vision of where the future of the DCEU may go. It sounds like he's actually a good pick. It'll be, it'll probably be a year and a half before we see some of the decisions he makes carry over to, to movies that they're going to hit the big screen, because at this point we just have Aquaman coming out, at the end of the year, and that's all that we have right now that's going to be released this year. So it would be, pretty much into maybe Shazam, maybe the first kind of movie, because they're in pre-production, but they haven't started filming yet, and he just was announced. We don't know. A lot of times when they make these announcements in the movie industries, they've already been working in the position a little bit of time before it's made public. So that would potentially be the first film that we would really see this new leadership regime, how it affects the product that we're getting on the big screen, and where we can see like they've made a definitive shift in tone, or made a decision about tone, and where they're going to go from there. So I thought that was an interesting thing, and seeing that he had close ties to James Wan and his stable of guys on. I'm optimistic at most, because I really want to see the DCEU succeed. So I'm hoping this is the right person to put in the forefront that could drive the change that's needed to stabilize this thing, to kind of try to pull it out from the doldrums it's in right now. One other piece of news that I was super excited for, because I've talked about this in detail previously, how I really felt like it should have been a Black Widow standalone movie before this point. It was announced yesterday that Marvel has hired Jack Schaefer. She's a writer that has a few credits under her belt. She's done a movie called Timer that was like a small independent movie that came out some years ago. Some of her other writing credits is she just did the Disney short All Lost Frozen Adventure. She has a movie in post-production right now, which is it's not a reboot, but it's a reimagining of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels that she did for two female leads. So I think it's called Nasty Women, that I checked on IMDb. It's in post-production right now. It's Anne Hathaway, and I can't remember who's the other female lead in the movie, but she wrote that as well. And she's been tapped to some other projects too, that I heard about it like a year ago. I heard the name thrown around. I really didn't know who she was. That she has done some other scripts, that she's written some other scripts that I don't know if they're going to be picked up and produced, but she was hired to write a couple of other scripts too for some more major franchises. I'm going to go into detail. I'm going to do an episode similar than what I did last year for Nightwing, when they announced some details about a Nightwing movie. I did a movie talk episode talking about some of the casting. We know who's going to be the main character. We know Scarlett Johansson is going to be Black Widow. But, I go into maybe what source material they should pick from to try to develop the movie, locales, what the budget should be, things of that nature. I'm going to do another similar thing to that for Black Widow. So that'll be coming down the pike in the next week or so on the podcast as well. Because I'm super excited about that. And kind of speculate on where this all might fit in with this being announced. Would it be a flashback movie if something happens to Scarlett's character in Avengers 3 or 4? Because as we know, Infinity War is a few months away. May, comes out beginning of May. And we already know that, as soon as they wrapped on Avengers 3, they went right into Avengers 4. I think principal photography for Avengers 4 either just finished or is still going on, because we're getting that, next year in 2019. So, I'm assuming if this was a thing, if they're hiring her to write a script, I'm assuming if they would produce this movie, even if it's kind of on a fast track, that it would be... we wouldn't be seeing this movie filmed to maybe, summer of 2018 or early 2019 for maybe a late 2019 or early 2020 release. give or take in there. But again, I'm going to talk about that in more detail when I do that particular episode. But that's just some of the things that that came up that I wanted to talk about that I had forgot to mention, especially the comic book superhero movie countdown thing. Like I said, that's been a big project that I've kind of been spending all my time on, and I kind of got caught in a weird loop. I was, I don't know, it's just, but since the new year, I've kind of been, my energy's been like super down. So I wanted to get you guys something out, to let you know what's going on, what I'm working on. I'm actually working on stuff. I'm not being lazy. Like I said, I have a lot of big intentions for this. I think I have to finish editing the videos, and I posted this on the Comic Book Savant Facebook page that, I was going to do a short episode of the podcast, or semi-short episode of the podcast, and then I have 2 videos that I recorded earlier in the week that I have to finish editing. Today is Thursday morning, so this episode should be out by tonight, and I'm hoping that one of the 2 videos that I recorded this week will drop this evening as well. So you should, when you hear this, it should be this audio episode and then one video episode, and then over the weekend I will release the other video on the YouTube channel. So if you haven't subscribed to the Comic Book Savant YouTube channel, go to youtube.com, Comic Book Savant. Definitely check it out. Also, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, on Facebook, all at Comic Book Savant. Also, I've talked about it again. This is going to be a shameless plug that I'm going to be pushing out there, is that, definitely if you like the content and you like what I'm doing, you want to help support the podcast, check out my Patreon campaign. I've had it for a while, and like I said, I'm not a salesman, I'm more of a content creator, but it's imperative that if you guys like the content, to keep this going, I need updated equipment, things of that nature. Anything you guys can contribute, if you can, is greatly appreciated. It's not a requirement. It's just a request that I'm asking. If you like the content and you listen to, watch it, and enjoy it, if you can contribute, check out the Patreon, which is patreon.com/Comic Book Savant. For as little as $2 a month, you can contribute to helping me maintain the audio podcast. Like I said, if I don't really get support through the Patreon campaign, I'm going to slowly transition it to YouTube, where I can kind of get ad revenue that helps sustain, because I just don't get enough from web hosting, the cost for the podcast hosting. That's a whole separate expense. I don't make enough through the one sponsor to cover those things. So that's why, I've been covering out of pocket, and it's just to a point where financially it's just tough for me to maintain everything. So, again, I'm putting it out there. It's not something that you have to do, but if you can, it's greatly appreciated. If not, again, leaving reviews, giving feedback, sharing, subscribing to the YouTube channel, following on social media, all those things help as well. So if you can't financially, I do appreciate you still coming, listening, sharing, and enjoying the content. I need some more subscribers on the YouTube channel. I do stuff. I don't repeat the stuff I do here. I cover totally different things. I've been doing like TV. I've moved like the TV reviews that I used to do here on a podcast. I do them on the YouTube channel. I do non-spoiler movie reviews there, because that's normal. I do keep the spoilers because they're a little bit longer format on the audio show. So I do non-spoilers if it's a movie you haven't seen yet and you're on the fence about it. I do a non-spoiler version of reviews there. And I've also been doing, as I've been reading comics, I've been doing mainly trade reviews, because I like doing the cutting the stack kind of all in one when I'm checking out a publisher and I'm catching up on books, to do that here in an audio format. So I kind of do trade reviews, because a lot of times I buy a lot of trades digitally when I'm catching up on stories and whatnot. So I've been doing, I have about 5 or 6 of those episodes up. even comic book video games. So I'm doing a little different content there than what you're getting here. So definitely, if you haven't checked out the YouTube channel, do it, because there's some fresh content there that you're not getting on the audio show as well. So again, it's definitely a movement, and I'm looking to do more audio episodes per week as well as more videos. Just right now, like this week, I kind of stumbled out of the gates because normally, I get you guys the audio episode by Tuesday and a video by Thursday, but I just have felt, I haven't felt sick, and the flu's been running rampant all over the country right now. It's not even that. I just my body's just kind of crashed a little bit. I don't know, is it from just New Year's? Normally when the time change happens, daylight savings kicked in, I normally crash, but I didn't this year. But now New Year's came in, and I'm kind of going through that. My body's going through that same crash I normally have when daylight saving time comes. So I'm just kind of fight through that this week. So that's why this is a little bit of a shorter episode. And again, it'll be, when this episode drops today, you'll have a YouTube video on the YouTube channel, and then another one should drop by the weekend. And then hopefully, if I feel better, I'll be right back on schedule next week. So you'll have, an audio episode Tuesday and a video on Thursday. And like I said, during the year, that's going to start ramping up, and you might have, audio Tuesday and Thursday, and then, video Thursday, Saturday, or Thursday, Sunday, something like that. So I'm going to keep amping up content for you guys. So it's more to come. I always say one of my favorite sayings is the best is yet to come. That is definitely my motto for this year for the podcast. My best is yet to come. As hard as I work on the show, and as much as you guys have supported me, I want to push myself as well as you even further, and being a comic book fan, and us just enjoying this journey together. So I hope you guys have enjoyed. That's all I got for this week. I'll see you again next week for another episode of Comic Book Savant. You guys take care. And again, if you have not checked out the YouTube channel, go to youtube.com/Comic Book Savant. You will need to subscribe. Click the bell notification so you're alerted when new content drops, because it is new, different content from what is on this podcast on the YouTube channel. So it's definitely worth your time checking out. And I see you guys again next week for another episode. Take care.
And into lyrical wholeness. And I know this, and I know this. This I know, this I know.